Hello everyone, you're welcome back to New Sweet Ladies Place once again. My name is Yinka. In today's tutorial, we're going to be making this beautiful handkerchief flare gown. And for this tutorial, you'll be needing your regular measurement. Then you'll be needing one special measurement, which is your center back neck to your desired sleeve length. Just like this. And also you'll be needing to calculate your radius for the waistline. Your radius is your waist measurement plus 4 divided by 6.2 here. Just like mine is 32 plus 4 gives me 36, then divided by 6.28. All right, so let's get started. At first, I'm going to be folding my fabric into two. Then after that, I'll fold it over again into four. We are cutting the upper part of our gown first. Then after that, I'll cross check whether I have up to this my measurement. Mine is 15. From my center back neck to my desired sleeve is 15. Then after that, I'll rule my guideline. Then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to measure my nipple point downward. My nipple position is 10.5. I'll make a point. Then I'll measure my waist length. My waist length is 17. Then with 1 inch allowance. We are having elastic casing at the waistline. That's why I made it 1 inch allowance. Then after that, I'll extend all this line. Here is my shoulder line, that is my bust point, and here is my waist length, and that is 1 inch allowance. So the next thing I'll do on my shoulder line, I'm going to input that my measurements. Mine is 15, then I minus 1.5 from it, giving me 13.5 because I want to attach another band at the sleeve round. So I'll measure 13.5. So I measure 13.5. Then from that point, I'll go down by 1.5 inch. Then after that, starting from the folded edge, I'm going to measure 3 inches neck width. Then I'm going to connect these 2 points together. The reason for this is just to get our shoulder slope. Then after that, I'm going to add ½ inch to my shoulder slope for my shoulder seam allowance. Starting from that my 13.5 inch mark, I'm going to input my round sleeve measurement. See, starting from the actual measurement, not from the allowance, I'm going to input my round sleeve. I'm using 8 inches here for my round sleeve opening. I don't want it to be too tight on my body. That's why I'm using 8 inches, and that 8 inches will give me 16. All right, so I'm going to now roll this line. So after that, now we are going to be inputting our circumference measurement. On my bust point line, I'm going to input my bust divided by 4. My bust is 40 divided by 4, give me 10. I'll mark a point. Then I'm going to add ½ inch east, then 1 inch seam allowance. Then I'm going to connect from down my sleeve to my measurement like that with a curve. So from that your bust point, just connect to the round sleeve. You can either use your hand or you use your French curve, whichever one you prefer. Note, we are drafting a kimono bodice. This is how to do a kimono bodice. All right, so on my waistline, I'm going to input my waist measurement divided by 4. My waist is 32 divided by 4, that's 8. I'm going to use 1 inch as ease on my waistline, then 1 inch seam allowance. Then I'm going to connect this waistline to the bust point line like so with my curved ruler. And you can also use your hand. That's the bust point with half inch is, then 1 inch allowance, then you connect it. On the waistline, your quarter waist plus 1 inch is plus 1 inch allowance, then you connect. So I'm going to be putting my neck circumference. So I'm going to be using 4 inches for the neck width and also 4 inches for the neck depth. You can choose to use whatever parameters you desire. But for this tutorial, I use 4 inches by 4 inches. Then I'll connect this point with my curved ruler. Then after that, I'm going to cut it out. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to cut the band for the round sleeve. First, I'll fold my fabric into 2. Then after that, I'll fold it over again into 4. Then I'm going to fold it now downward like I'm showing you here. By the time you do it like this, it will be into 8 folds. And to know the amount of the fold over, you need that measurement that you used there, starting from the actual measurements, not from the allowance. So, you know, I use 8 inches, so I'll measure that 8 inches. You can see it's 8 inches that is there. So I'm going to measure down my 8 inches. Exactly 8 inches. Then the width is going to be 2 inches. You know, I removed 1.5 from the actual measurement, so I'm making it 2 inches here because I needed half for the seam allowance. That's why I'm measuring 2 inches for the width. Then I'm going to roll it. Then after that, I'll cut it out. So after joining the shoulders together, I just attach this to the round sleeve opening. Alright, so I'll keep the upper bodice up away. So to determine your radius for the flare, you need your waist measurement plus 4 inches. If you remember, we added 1 inch ease on the upper part of the waistline. That is going to be give us 4 inches at the end of the day because the fabric is folded into 4. So that's the essence of that 4 inches that you added to your waist measurement. All right, so you're cutting the flare now. First, fold your fabric into 2. So my radius is my waist measurements plus 4. The waist is 32 plus 4 gives me 36. Then I'll divide that by 6.28, which give me 5.7. Then I'll remove half inch for my seam allowance. So that will give me 5.2. So my radius is 5.2. Please calculate yours. Then the remaining length for my gown, I already used 17 at the upper part. So I want 40 inches gown length. So 17 inches minus 40 gives me 23. So the remaining length for my gown is 23. All right. So the first thing I'll do is to check whether my fold over is up to that. First, I'll check for my radius. My radius is 5.2. I'll make a
Then after
point.
that, I'll check whether I have my remaining length. I'll just cross check it like that. Alright, so the next thing I'll now do now is to fold my fabric downward. Remember, this fabric is already folded into two. So after that now, you fold it downward.
Alright, so the length here is my radius with plus the remaining length of my gown plus 1 inch allowance. That is what I have here right now. And then I'm going to measure the same thing to the other side. Basically, we are just going to be cutting a square and fold like this. So I don't have up to that. I had to increase the fold over to be sure that I have the exact measurement that I have first. That's my radius plus my remaining length. Alright, so I have that now. The next thing I'll do now is to cut this thing out. It's just a rectangle that measured my radius plus the remaining length of my gown plus 1 inch allowance. So the length is equal on the four sides. If you measure them now, the same length on all the angle. Alright, so I've cut it out. So the length is equal on these two sides. Even if you measure every other angle, there is the same thing. So the next thing I'll do now is to input my radius. So my radius is 5.2. So I'll measure from that tip there, I'll measure the 5.2. You can see that place, everything here is unfold, even here is completely unfold. Alright, so I'm going to measure my 5.2 and I'm going to continue to rotate the 5.2 all around. Then after that, I'll connect my points together. So what I did here is just to rotate my radius, which is 5.2. Then I mark it. Then after that, I'll cut it out. So we are done cutting our flare for the lower part of our gown. And then this one here is going to be the one that is going to be in the center front and also center back. If you measure here now, this is the remaining length of your gown. You can see I have 24 there. 23 is the actual length. I have 1 inch for my allowance. Then if you measure this center here, it's longer because those are the dangling one, the ones that are longer, you know. And the same thing for this other side, they are short. Here too is short. So I'm just going to be using here as my center front and my center back because it's the same actual length that I want, which is 24. All right, so I'm going to place my notch. So this is my center front and my center back. So I'll open it and we are done cutting. All right, so these are all the pieces that we cut out. So you can see this is the bodice, the front and the back. Then this is the band on the sleeve. You can see we have two pieces.
one for each of the hand. Then this is our flare. This is our flare. Can you see? Alright, so I'm going to be showing you how to join all these pieces together to form a beautiful dress. Alright, so you can see this is the upper part and it's into two pieces. One is for the front and the other is for the back. So the first step is to put them on top of each other, right side facing each other. Then you're going to join the shoulder with half-inch seam allowance. When you're done with one side, you repeat the same thing to the other side. Alright, so we are done joining the shoulders together. So the next thing you do is to attach the band to the sleeve. So you can do it this way, just open it to the right side. Then you take your band, you fold it into two and you place it up on top of the sleeve and then you just sew it directly with half-inch. But I'm not going to be doing that. Alright, so I'll turn my fabric to the wrong side. Then I'm going to open up my band. The right side of my band is facing the wrong side of the sleeve. Then I'm going to sew it. It's because I want it to be neatly finished. That's why I'm doing this step like this. Alright, so I'm done attaching the band to the sleeve. So the next thing I'll do now is to turn my fabric to the right side. Then I'm going to fold the band on top of it like this. Just look at the way I'm doing it. I'm going to push half-inch inside like that. Then I'm going to now top stitch this band on top of the sleeve like that, pushing all the raw edges inside. So when one sleeve is done, I'll repeat the same thing to the other side. Alright, so I'm done attaching my band to my sleeve. You can see the way it's looking. It's neat both inside and then outside. You can see it's very pretty. Alright, so we are done with the band. So the next thing now is to use bias to pipe the neckline. So I'll put my bias, I'll sew my bias all around the neckline on the right side. All around the neckline. Alright, so when you're done attaching the bias to the right side, you turn your fabric to the wrong side, then you bring the bias to the wrong side and then you top stitches all around the neckline. And you're going to be sewing this from the wrong side of your fabric. Alright, so we are done with the neck. So the next thing now is to join the sides. So I'm done joining the two sides. So the next thing I'll do now is to fold it, just fold it like I'm showing you here. Fold it together. Then you are going to notch the center. So when that is done, the next thing you do now is to bring the fabric to the right side. Just bring it to the right side. Then you're going to take your flare. This is your flare. Just look at the way I'm going to do this. This way it's going to be very easy for you to join them together. Alright, so you see, you just place the upper bodice inside the flare like that. You can see, just like that. You put it inside like that. Then you're going to match your notch together. You know, we notch the center front and center back on the flay, and we have done the same thing on the upper bodice as well. So just match your notch together. Basically now the right side of your flay is also facing the right side of the upper bodice. Right, so I'm going to pin, then I'll go to the next notch, I'll match it together, then I'm going to pin as well. So after that, I'm going to sew it all around with 1 inch seam allowance. You can see they fit each other perfectly. So make sure you calculate your waist circumference, your waist radius correctly. Just make sure to calculate those things correctly so that it can be the exact thing like mine. Alright, so I'm going to sew it all around like so. Alright, so I'm done joining it together. Alright, so the next thing now is to open it up like this. You can see the way it's looking. Then I'll put my hand inside the dress. This is the bodice. Then I'm going to fold this 1 inch like I'm showing you here. You can see the way it is. Let me show you very well. This is the bodice and that is the flare down there. Alright, so this is the body. You are going to fold your elastic casing towards your upper bodice. So first fold in like quarter, then after that you fold over again like I'm showing you here. Then you're going to top stitch it all around the waistline on the upper bodice. You can see the way I open it up so that it can be easy for me to sew. So I'll just top stitch the elastic casing on top of the upper bodice all around the waistline like that. Be careful so that you don't catch the flare with this top stitch. Just open it flat and then you top stitch it all around. So before you get to the end, make sure you leave a little opening that you will use to pass your elastic through later on. Just leave about 1 inch or a little less so that you can use to pass your elastic through on the waistline. So you can see I left a little space for passing my elastic through later on when I'm done. Alright, so after that, the next thing you do now is to hem the lower part of your gown. Just hem it. First fold once, then you see the way I'm folding it once, then again you fold over, and then you're going to make your stitch all around the lower part of your gown. Alright, so I'm done hemming the lower part of the gown. So the next thing is to put my elastic. So I'll just take my elastic, then I'm going to round it around my waist line like that. But if you're making it for a client, please just use the waist measurement minus 6. Your elastic is going to be your waist measurement minus 6 inches. So I'm going to just put safety pin on the elastic, then I'm going to push that safety pin through that my little opening, then I'm going to pass the elastic through the elastic casing on the waistline. So what I'll do next now, after passing the elastic through the casing, I'm just going to stitch the two end of the elastic together. Just back stitch, just do back and forth stitch like about 5 times, then you're good to go. So just arrange the elastic, distribute it very well on the waistline, and then that your little opening that you left, you are going to sew it close. Just sew it close. And that's it, our gown is ready. See how beautiful our gown is looking.
Alright, so that's the end of the class. If you have not subscribed to the channel yet, please kindly do that and please give this video a thumbs up. I'll see you in my next tutorial. Bye.